A water park is a great place to get a dose of adrenaline, but sometimes you have to pay for the pleasure, not only with money but also with your health, because anything can happen in water parks. A huge tsunami can occur in the pool, and a person can get stuck in a high slide or even fly out of it. Get ready to see how it happens. This is Infinity, and in this episode you'll learn about the cases when water parks have been closed until further investigation or permanently. What could be better than riding down a slide that's outdoors? You ride down and you personally observe the beautiful nature surrounding you from all sides, and it's cool. It's doubly cool, by the way, if the water slide itself also completely satisfies you in both speed and appearance. The water ride I'm about to talk about kind of fits all the criteria. It fits everything except for safety. If you think you have no chance of falling off this slide, take a look. The most ordinary man was riding down the slide and somehow, magically, he was thrown out of the water slide bounds. Let me tell you right off the bat, don't worry. Even though the man flew into the bushes, he survived. He got off with a trip to the hospital and treatment for a broken arm, ribs, and abrasions on his back, arms, and sides. After the incident, the owner of the water slide had to tear it down completely and rebuild it from scratch. There was an error in the original design, which led to an isolated but still unfortunate accident. The ride in question was in Dublin, in one of the popular local water parks. The water slide was called Emerald Plunge, and it consisted of 3 parallel tubes, any one of which a person could go down. They had an angle of 80 degrees, making it a fast, dynamic, and exciting ride. Moreover, this slide, like many others, had its own height limit, but for some reason the inspectors let a little boy in. As a result, he flew out of the chute at breakneck speed and was thrown over the side and dragged across the floor for several meters. It might seem that if he got up fairly quickly himself, he was okay, and the most he got was a scratch. That may have been the case, but as the boy's parents later reported, the child was shocked. He was promptly taken to the hospital, and the water park was no less promptly closed for numerous inspections of both the water slide itself and all the others. Water slide on the ship. Many people dream of being somewhere in the middle of the sea or the ocean on a huge cruise ship, equipped with all sorts of stuff. Although the ships are in the middle of the water, no one cancels the opportunity to ride down some water slides. Understanding all the possible excitement, the owners of one of the cruise liners installed several different water slides on it. All of them were quite steep, with dead loops, fast descents, and so on. The preliminary tests were successful, which meant that it was safe to call people here and go on the trip. So the owners of the ship thought. But in fact, the first time they set sail and tested the slides, a rather bad situation occurred. A girl was going down a closed tube, could not overcome the first turn, as a result of which her speed was equal to 0 and she got stuck. After pushing from side to side, she went again, but not forward, but backward. To be honest, I don't know how they got her out of there, because the launch was from a pretty high point, and the assistants could hardly reach it with their hands. They probably had to dismantle the water slide. But just imagine yourself in that poor girl's shoes, especially if the person suffers from claustrophobia. Such a stuck can be equated to something absolutely horrible and unimaginable. There's a reason why these water slides were closed immediately after this incident and subjected to numerous works with the restructuring of the system. In this video, a man with friends rode down a winding open water slide. Everything seemed to be cool and the ride was a success, except there was a surprise waiting for him at the end. The man didn't just come in first, but overdid his speed, causing him to do a backflip and scratch slightly on the surface as he hit the obstacle. However, he got up quickly, which meant he was okay, but the situation, however, is not a pleasant one. It wasn't so much a water slide as it was a free-fall experience. In the video, you can see the kid falling off the water ride at such a vertical angle that he's practically flying through the air. It didn't look more like a water slide, but rather a vertical tube through which Mario was teleported. Unfortunately, this poor guy didn't have a soft and safe landing like everyone's favorite pixel plumber. This footage was shot in 2008 at Seven Peaks Water Park in Utah, and it's enough to make anyone's stomach squeeze a little while watching it. It's also enough to shut down the water slide, deeming it dangerous for visitors. Why does everyone love the sea? Probably because it's very pleasant to swing on the warm waves. But as it turns out, you don't have to go to the coast to experience this pleasure. Today, there are water parks with so-called artificial waves which do almost the same thing. There are usually a lot of people in such water parks. This is especially true in China, a country where, by definition, there are a lot of people. At one of their local water parks, people came in for a water massage, which was done with the help of waves. Some were alone, others were with friends, and still others came with their whole families. But all of a sudden, people started getting hit by more and more powerful waves. Dozens of people were hit by a strong artificial wave that first lifted those in the front up and then covered those in the back. As a result, 44 people were hospitalized. Some were diagnosed with rib fractures, and most people went to heal numerous bruises. Do you think this wave could have been avoided? Or was there an obvious system failure here, after which the only solution was to close the water park? Share your thoughts in the comments. Something didn't go according to plan. That's how you can describe the next water slide and what happened on it. This was a pairs ride, which means that basically there were several people on it at once. They were all sitting in the same inflatable sledge, gradually gaining and losing speed. Mostly, however, people went on the ride because of the moment at the end of the water slide, the moment you see now. And for these people, it was a particularly memorable moment. They didn't fall off the slide, but they still rolled over and got a few bruises and abrasions. Water parks are many people's favorite places to relax, even though they're quite dangerous, as you may have already seen. But has that ever stopped anyone? Of course not. The same applies to usual amusement parks, where unpleasant situations also happen. Let's take a look at them too. Not far from Detroit, Michigan, adventurers built a special slide that was something like a water slide, except it wasn't. Apparently, they built it for even more risky adventurers because I don't know how brave you have to be to ride down it. The only protection they had was some kind of putties to protect themselves from accidental cuts. But they weren't even the main danger. The point was that the slide turned out to be very extreme. Kids would literally fly up into the air at the slightest increase in speed, at which point gravity punished them well by hitting them on the hard surface over and over again. As a result, a couple or three such high-speed and seemingly exciting rides turned out to be cause to a lot of injuries and bruises. Of course, this pleasure was shut down because of a number of complaints. The rope broke. These are 3 words to describe the following situation that happened at an amusement park in Florida. A group of friends came in the middle of the night to enjoy a well-known type of attraction called the slingshot. It gets its name from the fact that people sit in a capsule stretched on both sides by strong ropes. Once everything is ready, the controller presses a button and people take off, experiencing unreal speed and, after that, free fall. However, what happened in this video is nothing but a sky sign. Well, the 2 guys were sitting in the capsule and the girls were counting out loud. Right at the very end and the start of the ride, one of the ropes broke off. Just imagine yourself in those people's shoes. In that moment, they all realized that if the rope had broken a few seconds later, it wouldn't have ended well. Apparently, one of the guys was clearly being guarded by someone higher up. There's no other way to explain this coincidence. Cobra Ride. Whether you believe in the magic of numbers or not, but on the 15th of the 2015, a pretty scary situation happened in VDNH, amusement park in Moscow, Russia. 4 people got stuck on one of the rides called Cobra, which is an extreme slide with a dead loop. They were hanging upright in the air with their heads down. Fortunately, workers managed to evacuate them without consequences half an hour later. After that, the management of the amusement park advised visitors not to use the rides, told about years of trials, and clarified that the rides were operated without proper documents and dangerous for the visitors. In May of the same year, all the rides stopped working. Anything that's different has always attracted and will continue to attract people from all over the world. The same is true of amusement parks, as well as innovative slides. The Accelerator is a roller coaster that opened in 2012. It was the first hydraulically powered roller coaster. It reached speeds of over 81 miles per hour, which was incredible by those standards. Of course, there were a lot of people who wanted to ride down something new. One of them was the father and son you see in this video. At first, the ride started smoothly for them, but after the first reverse movement, a rope broke. As a result, the ride was immediately stopped and people were pulled out of their seats. There's no exact information on how the incident ended, but it's known that the family won the trial and received a fairly large compensation. That's all, guys. What's the scariest ride you've ever ridden? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.